Hey, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, welcome to HederaCon, probably for the 5th time, but congratulations. We got a pretty distinguished panel up here today, and we're going to go ahead and start with that. So our topic today is, again, securing, not assuming trust. And a lot goes into that. There's a lot to unpack from that phrase. But for a quick introduction for myself, and thanks to Ed, my name is Joe Blanchard. I'm the Chief Security Officer for Hashgraph, leading the effort here on the Hedera network. And I guess living obviously in a decentralized world with centralized principles and accountability has been a heck of a challenge, but we're excited to do it, and there's a lot there. But we're going to go ahead and go down around the room to my first guest over here, wonderful guy from Halborn. You want to introduce yourself, sir?
I'm Stephen Wabro. I'm the co-founder, CTO here at Halborn, and we work here a lot, and many of the people here in the audience here. I'm from Miami. Actually, my house is like less than a mile away from here, so I'm glad that it's all happening, in this town now.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm Nick Percoco. I'm the Chief Security Officer for Kraken. I've been with Kraken about 8 years, and then total in the security world about 30 years working.
You're brave, Nick. I never admit it's that long. Justine Bone, I'm the Executive Director of the Crypto ISAC. We are a platform that allows security teams within our membership, who include Hedera, Hashgraph, Halborn, and Kraken, and many others. We provide a platform that allows security teams to communicate and collaborate and share information with one another. So the Crypto ISAC has been my focus for the last 3 years. I come from a cybersecurity background as well, just about as long as Nick here. So, and I also live in Miami Beach.
We have that in common then.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, beautiful place. I mean, this place is beautiful, absolutely. One thing you guys haven't picked up, just for quick introductions, is we have a spectrum here of guests that obviously all in crypto, all in Web3, but there's a spectrum of companies and how we do security. There's always constants, but there is strong differences, I guess, between those. So if you want, I'm going to go through across the board again one more time to talk about those. So on the Hedera side, accountability still exists, but we've decentralized that accountability. We have different parties between council members. We have accountability at Hashgraph and Hedera itself. We have accountability across the ecosystem. But again, it's spread out, and so we have to still coordinate that across the board. So we spend a lot of time talking with partners and node operators and council members and members of the ecosystem and coordinating that effort. And so that's a big part of what we do and how we do it. But again, if we have Halborn, a good partner of ours, great guys, you're on the stage for a reason here. Do you want to talk about, I guess, how you guys approach general security at Halborn?
Yeah, you mentioned a couple key topics, like the threat surface, the node operators, the nodes themselves, the code. And what makes Web3 and blockchain and this different for security from what you would work on for the past 30 years on traditional security is the attack surface is completely different. Code is money now, and that's a key differentiator. Where when you have programmable money or programmable finance, you have all new types of attacks and threats that didn't exist in traditional security, where you have actors manipulating the money itself on-chain and invisible. So whether it's incident response, whether you're doing something around the crypto keys themselves, you have a whole new attack surface. And it's all evolving too. There's a lot of different protocols that are coming out every day. It's moving very fast and keeping up with it. So you need to have preventive security, which is what we do, and of course all the visibility, instant response that Crypto ISAC can provide and help see. So it's a very interesting space. It's something new every day to learn too.
Absolutely. Nick, you want to talk to us about Kraken?
Yeah, so if those who don't know who Kraken is, we are a centralized exchange. The parent company, Payword, we have a number of different brands within that parent company. Things like Xstocks, NinjaTrader, and some other brands as well. And I'm the Chief Security Officer of all of that, so I have all that within my responsibility. But the unique approach I think that we take from a security standpoint is something we call productively paranoid. And so if you think of the two sides of the spectrum there, so if you have on the productivity side, you have people within your organization that are just trying to get stuff done, right? Trying to go as fast as they can. In some organizations, they just say security is responsible for all these things, and we're not going to worry about it, and they just go plow ahead, probably installing software they shouldn't have, probably clicking on links that they shouldn't have, and probably getting compromised as well. And then on the other side, you could possibly have a security team that just says no to everything. and no one can get anything done. And so how we think we do things differently at Kraken is that everybody is part of the security program. It's not the security team, it's not, and we want people to be productively paranoid. So how that changes the mindset is that they actually, when there's a project going on, they'll actually think, maybe this isn't so safe. Let's go talk to security. Let's bring security into the conversation early on versus waiting to the end and popping out of a box. Everybody knows this happens often. Like, hey, we're shipping tomorrow. Security needs to take care of this. That's not reality, right? You can't fix everything in 24 hours. And so the productively paranoid piece also allows people to do things like pull a fire alarm internally whenever they see something that it looks bad. And we encourage people to do so. Security team doesn't get upset when somebody pulls the fire alarm. We want to investigate and see what's happening. Most of the time it's benign, but sometimes it's not, and that's important.
Nick, we like clients like you at Halborn that are the shifting left and doing security earlier, because we do preventive security for a lot of customers that are developing the code. And you have really two types: the ones that wait till the end. All right, the code's done, it's in production. Let's do security now. And usually that it's very wasteful for those clients because they have to fix the things and then kind of start over. Shifting left, getting earlier involved with security in the development saves a lot of money, time, and also a lot of risk is reduced for that.
If I may, only because I was blessed to spend some time with Nick back in past years, I think we had a running joke that Kraken was really a security company who also happened to exchange some crypto. I think a lot of us took it from heart. Yeah, right, 100%. Right, Justine.
Yeah, really good points, and it's so great to see these leaders talking about security sort of as a culture and a process of risk management. And I think for a lot of people who don't live and breathe this every day, security can be considered this sort of final state that you're hoping to achieve and then you're kind of done, but it's not. It's a real journey of weighing up pros and cons. And the impact that security controls can have to things like shipping fast and innovation. So it really is ultimately often a business decision that has to be made that folds into a larger risk management, culture and strategy for an organization. So it's different across different stakeholders depending on the goals and the stage of the organization. And this is something that outside of crypto and blockchain or Web 2, has been understood for a very, very long time. And now from where I sit, we're seeing a bit of a convergence. Of course, we've got, banks and others coming into crypto and blockchain, and they're bringing that sort of very mature perspective on cybersecurity and risk management to, a community that hasn't always been wired to think that way. So it's a nice convergence of sort of leveraging the best of both worlds right now.
And now you talk about shipping fast. You have AI developments here, and things have never been shipped faster now. You have AI development, AI shipping, AI doing security review. There's another risk service within all of that too that's just been developing recently. So it's always interesting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone's been following the news in Web3 just the last few weeks, so April was pretty darn bloody. I think April was the worst month since the Bybit attack just last year. And so things, as much as they're getting better, and I think as much as we're leading at culture, things are getting pretty nasty. So with that being said, yes, recent cross-chain exploits are spreading like crazy. How is this changing the way your orgs are seeing security? Are you making amendments? Are you leveraging AI in a different, better sense? Are you leveraging different controls? I guess I know Justine has questions or things maybe to share about NIST as well. Maybe we'll start down that side.
Oh gosh, so much. Yeah, thanks. Look, there's a lot of deeply technical problems and challenges in security and cybersecurity, and Nick and Steve here can get really into the weeds on that. But we also have a lot of human problems and social engineering problems and other operational security problems that are impacting us. Also, just thinking about what happened in April with Drift, for example. No security talk would be complete if we weren't talking about DPRK. So let's go there. And so these threat actors reuse not necessarily sophisticated, tactics, although often they do that as well, but also just things like identity data. So one thing I'm really excited about as of today actually is we're starting to share DPRK attributed threat actor identification data within our membership of the Crypto ISAC, so security teams can go beyond the problems in the code and these deeply technical issues to also challenges of a more human nature, in this case identity data representing fake worker profiles. That is a tactic that's often used by nation states that are hostile, such as DPRK, North Korea. So that's one thing that's going on, and yeah, there's a lot more we could talk about standards and best practices as well.
Nick, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So from our perspective, obviously there's always a lot going on. One of the things that even when you talk about the $750 million that's been stolen, you often think that these are highly technical exploits that are happening against organizations. For the most part, they're not. There's social engineering that's going on, and they're almost low tech. We see scams happening quite often in the crypto space. And most of those scams are not technical at all. They're almost as if the person who's scamming the individual is completely hands-off. They convince the individuals to do things, and then the threat actor receives the funds. That's it. They're not hacking into their system. They're not installing malware. They're not doing anything in that regard. And then, in the realm of AI, we've been the security organization specifically within Kraken has been utilizing AI for quite some time. So vulnerability management is a big piece. Incident response, threat detection, and all of that. How I see that is it allows me as a leader to have, say, a team of 4 people, and enable them to do the team of 40, maybe even a team of 100. In that sense. So there are experts, there are humans that are involved in that. But they can get greater information much faster. So when there's a situation, something pops up, it can execute their entire playbook from like a threat intelligence standpoint and pulling information in, and then make the time from when the situation is identified to when we can resolve it much smaller.
So another thing, I agree everything you guys are saying about that. I'll add a different type of risk that we see right now, and we talk about like threats and theft pretty often of crypto. We help. We have an advisory arm, so we can help with the process part, not just the technical from the people part, because there's a whole nother risk around just loss of the keys. It's not stolen; it's just you're mismanaging it, or you set some things up. And for us, as an individual, it's very easy. I just get a hardware wallet, or keep my key, my seed phrase. But when you're a large financial institution, with billions and $billion assets under management, what do you do with those keys is very complicated. And if you do it wrong, you could kind of be your own threat actor in a way and lose it all. Not having quorum to sign something quickly enough, or if put it in cold storage and your cold storage isn't backed up correctly. So there's a lot of a risk cascade that can come down from process mismanagement. Then we all know I think there's statistics for like Bitcoin that are locked forever from the keys. That can happen pretty often if you do it wrong, and you don't want to have that if you have such a large amount under custody for other people.
When it comes to technical vulnerabilities, I think mishandling key management is right up there at the top, isn't it? In crypto and blockchain, is one of the biggest causes of incidents, is screwing up how those keys are
and
managed.
It's often not a technical problem. It's like a people and process problem.
Yeah, process people. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cryptography is usually pretty solid
if you do it right.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're not going to talk about PQC then.
Yeah, don't roll your own crypto, right?
Too soon.
I like to call that like there's just hygiene. If you keep your house in order and have a certain level of hygiene, how do you do operations on any given day? When those processes are weak or there is no process.
So much of security is just like really kind of boring, honestly.
Oh,
it's
very
like
keep
it
basic
boring.
stuff, like knowing what you've got and like keeping things updated and managing things properly.
Yeah, complexity is the enemy of security. So if you make it overly complex, you're introducing more risks too.
No, 100%. And I'm just going to double tap that last thought about it's an anecdote here at Hedera and Hashgraph that when we do employee onboarding, part of what we warn them is, hey, within the first 7 days of being an employee here, someone's going to reach out to you. It's like guaranteed. We actually play a little bit of games, because we warn them in advance. And I think we're running at probably at 99%. It's called out.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time, not if.
Yeah. One of the things that we do, just to give you maybe a little secret sauce of what we do at Kraken, I sort of realized early on when I was joining Kraken that if we get people to care about their personal security hygiene, they will be better at caring about the company's security hygiene. And so something that we developed, and actually I think I wrote the first draft of it, is a personal security handbook that every single employee gets when they join, and then there's a training that goes along with it. And that has paid off, pretty tremendously. People, learn maybe new concepts, new things from that when they joined, and then later on are calling out like, "Hey, this doesn't look right." where they maybe just wouldn't even notice it or pay attention to it had they not been paying attention to their own security.
That really locks in the sort of shared responsibility thinking as well, and moving away from where we all came from, which is like, security team, go fix it, and towards let's tackle this together.
I guess I'm a little spoiled because most of our company is a bunch of pen testers and hackers, so it's hard to trick them.
I found though, even on the security side, we're a bunch of hypocrites. We're sometimes the worst people taking our own advice every now and then because we think we know better.
Yeah.
And most times we do, but every now and then when it slips through and it's just a little extra embarrassing. Justine, if you don't mind, I'm going to target a question towards you. So are we seeing real-time actionable data sharing across the industry? Like, I guess, what are you seeing coming in Isaac? Like,
We are, yeah.
Is it like, are we still young and a foundling, or are you actually seeing real-time?
We got a ways to go, but for us to be able to counter threats at an appropriate speed, we needed to be automation first in everything that we built at Crypto ISAC, which is exactly what we did. So the platform's 24/7, integrations with our member companies, continuous data streams, on-chain and off-chain data. So we've got wallet addresses and smart contract and transaction addresses and all that good stuff, but we've also got IP addresses and domain names and threat data that's also analyzed, and we're on a journey to leverage AI in that analysis as well, by the way. But what we really ask ourselves is how useful is this data? We don't just want to be a data brokerage, warehouse. We want to have data that is actionable for our members, and so we're proud of the level of confidence that we can assign to the data that's being shared within our memberships to enable our members to act on that in the way that they best decide is most useful for their organization. And just moving from an origin of sort of the Web 2 data more towards what's specifically threatening crypto and blockchain organizations, such as the DPRK IT worker data that we announced today, coming from Ripple, amongst other sources countering DPRK IT worker threats. So there's that. There's also another whole level of analysis that we and our members conduct and share, responding to incidents and other trends that we see going on in industry. So there's a variety of the types of information. But we're off to a really, really good start. People get it. The folks in these security teams understand the value of this level of collaboration. We're not the first ISAC, Information Sharing Analysis Center, in the world. There are other ISACs for other sectors within critical infrastructure. We're just the one dedicated to the crypto and blockchain industry. So we're not reinventing the wheel here. Information sharing and collaboration has been well understood for a long time. And that includes our friends in Washington, D.C. as well, so public-private collaboration as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Stephen, I'm going to target one towards you. So obviously you guys get around. You work with not just Hedera, but you work with a lot of the other networks as well and enterprises as a whole. So I guess my question to you is, how are you seeing the attack surface change, or has it over the last year, or is it remaining traditional? And then what do you see, I guess, in general, as enterprises being underprepared for? Is there a gap that they're just not seeing that you're having to call out repeatedly?
So I still think that it has been and always will remain that people are the weakest link in security. So things that Nick had said about the very advanced, sophisticated social engineering, and especially with deep fakes, and you could sound like anybody now. You can pretend to be anybody. Interview as anybody you want. So just the awareness around that threat surface of the things that could happen for the external people side of it. Awareness is the first thing for it. And I think that's just hasn't been any change since the beginning of before crypto existed, is the people being the weakest link. But outside of that, for institutions, one thing that they should think about is beyond the technical side of it is what we're moving into, where we have on-chain stock markets, and you have equities that are tokenized and bonds tokenized, and you have large amounts of people's money, like greater than we've ever seen before, now being put on chain, done in a different way, and getting the understanding of the gravity of that, of, hey, we're doing something, the stock market's not closing at 4 o'clock anymore. It's now going to be 24/7, and settlement is done instantaneous, and clearinghouses are going to be smart contracts. Like, the whole infrastructure is changing, the payment rails, and I think that is where we're starting to think, how do we coordinate all of this to do it securely? Because there's a lot of benefits, for doing this, but there's a lot of risks. And that's what we're seeing right now, is that mentality shift of like, okay, we need to do this. How do we do it securely? It's like, it's slowed down a little bit, and then a coordinated adoption across things, kind of like what you guys with the ISAC coordination. So I think that's what I see a trend is. It's a positive thing. Coordination is happening, and understanding of the risk in the right way. So that's kind of the trend.
This is the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Nick, obviously in the general CISO world and the world in which we control, there's a lot of things we can control. There's a lot of things we can plan and prepare for, but there's a million things or vulnerabilities that will come from the outside world. How do you protect users, networks, infrastructure for the things coming from the outside that you can't plan for?
Yeah, so I think there's like three aspects of that. There's what we do internally within the company. We, as people might be aware, we have hundreds of hundreds of assets that are listed on our platform. We have integrations with maybe dozens of vendors, and so there's a lot that could come at us. That vulnerability management aspect of the program, the threat intelligence that we get from Crypto ISAC and from other partners that we have is extremely valuable from that perspective. How we actually protect our clients directly. A lot of things that we're able to do is through the tooling and the controls that we're able to extend to our clients to allow them to use. Like some of the great, the industry has been, or the world has been plagued with things like people struggling with 2FA and those types of things on their accounts. I think passkeys has been a great, really great adoption path for individuals to that really aren't technical at all to just enable it, and it does a lot for their account. And then the other aspect is, really whenever there's like a withdrawal happening on our platform, we have, we have internal sources of data. We have Crypto ISAC. We have multiple vendors that we utilize, so that we're able to quickly identify where possible. Hey, this is going to a scammer. This is going to a known bad wallet, and trying to help protect our clients, and then put things up in front of them, alert them, and then even if we have to, jump in front and do a call with the client and say, hey, you're sending a lot of money to this address. We know this is a romance scam, or we know this is an investment scam. So trying to do that. And then it's also the external collaboration, like I spoke about with threat intelligence partners. That's probably could be like, for us, it's like the best and worst days is when we're collaborating with partners, because sometimes someone tells us like, hey, we saw something that's related to Kraken, you need to check this out. But oftentimes we run across information, threat intelligence that we see through our engagements, in tracking down threat actors and engaging with threat actors, that we're then able to share with folks in the crypto industry, but also folks in like the gaming industry and telcos that we run across. And that's great. So the security teams, we're not competing. We're all in this together, and we're trying to make it very difficult for these threat actors to be successful. And the harder we make it, by having them burn their infrastructure continuously, everybody wins.
One thing I want to respond to you said about like tooling, make it hard for the hackers, but easy for the people. And I think that's been one of the things holding back crypto for a long time is easy usage. Now, like you mentioned passkey, like I hate having an account for everything, all passwords. Like, why does my refrigerator need a password separately and keep it there? What's going to happen? Users are going to keep like on their notes, or they're going to write it down because they can't remember all that. But now you coordinated and made something that's like shared access, like one time, that make it easy for them. That actually makes it more secure. Again, like complexity is the enemy of security even there.
No, absolutely, and great points. So for those that listened to the talk earlier, and Lehman was talking about Clipper and a new Web3 world where everything is connected, I think that adds another avenue or another element of vulnerability of working with things that aren't necessarily protocol failures, but failures from connectivity and vulnerabilities from like other systems and vendors and whatnot. I guess, what are we seeing in that space? Are we getting better? Are we getting worse?
I think it requires, again, like coordination for that. Every Internet of Things is like one of those domains of security that is very unique on its own, but very similar to blockchain and crypto, where it's more decentralized than a lot of the things we see right now because it's physical. It's sometimes hard to update something that is connected, but it's connected in a physical way rather than just a digital asset. Sometimes a vulnerability may come where you need to actually touch it and do something to it there rather than a chain update or software update. And I think that is a unique aspect of that connectivity of like the world for Internet of Things. And it for sure you're right. It opens up a risk if you have a smart car, and the hacker gets into that. You're not going to lose money like you could possibly die if they do it. So there's different types of threats there too, and I think we have to think about those things.
Impacts vary across different industries and different types of technologies. I spend a lot of time in the healthcare industry where an impact might be patient safety, But of course, usually we see the impact here in this sector, some sort of financially or reputationally oriented impact. But there's a lot of really mature thinking around this and modeling as it relates to risk management that I'm excited to see us sort of evolve towards in the crypto and blockchain industry. A lot to inherit from Web 2. There's a lot of cybersecurity best practices and standards. You mentioned NIST earlier, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the International Standards Organization. Many security standards that are being developed, especially for blockchain, are feeding up into those ecosystems of standards. And risk management leaders and cybersecurity leaders from other sectors are bringing that kind of sort of level of governance, sophistication, and security maturity into the crypto and blockchain industry now, where I think, we've been very tactical, very specialized, very subject matter expert driven, but now we're seeing a lot of that sort of oversight and thinking. But at the end of the day, there's often a trade-off. There really is. It's, the security versus usability thing is a real problem, and sometimes usability loses a little bit. I don't think any of us expect that to completely go away, but we do think about it a lot, and things like passkeys, you're right, Nick, have really moved the needle, I think.
Yeah, the standards thing, you're spot on too, Julie. We just released a stablecoin risk framework, which is very different. It's linked to the Basel pillars, if you've seen that, for financial risk. But doing that for stablecoins because there's a new aspect of technical risk around depegging and the things that come with that. So frameworks like that is now helping industry align to how to think about risk, because security and risk are kind of the same thing.
And these standards are so useful for security leaders. I mean, I'd be interested to hear what Nick thinks about this, because there's something that you can sort of hold yourself to and be measured by and aligned with as a part of your program.
I think especially for like project teams and organizations that are just starting out as well, because they likely don't know where to go and they don't know what to do. And so then you hear about those project teams that had a problem, like they had to share, they thought they had to share a private key. So they threw it in a password manager, or they threw it in a shared drive someplace. And so those types of frameworks really help them think through that and how they can actually accomplish good security practices without having to reinvent something. Right? The worst case is if you get a team together and they don't know how to do something, and instead of doing research and trying to see if there's standards, they just make it up in that conference room. Right? It's probably going to fail pretty miserably at some point.
What part of private key has share in it? Is that what private is?
Yeah.
A lot of assumptions there, but a lot of bad habits that happen regularly. I think we've all seen that. I think you just do another chalk mark every single time, and there's a long list of those. We're coming down. We have about 3 minutes left. So I'm going to give you each about a minute. But the final question is, if you had to close your eyes and fast forward 2 years, what do you see as the resiliency of a trust layer in digital finance? What would be the bearings of that?
So in digital finance, I personally think that with AI being on the pace it is right now, that we're going to see a lot more threats, risks, and sophistication from that. I mean, even with like Mythos just came out from Anthropic, finding vulnerability management programs are going to be compressed down to like minutes, if not seconds. And I think I can see that happening now, where we have that pushing into production rapid pace that we've seen from developers is also going to now be kind of brought into the security world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about AI technology in the area of identifying vulnerabilities. So like Mythos and all that. For me, I think no one's when you hear about a new vulnerability in some product out there, the researcher didn't invent the vulnerability. The vulnerability always existed. They discovered it. So if you're able to use like a tool like Mythos or other tool, and you're a big vendor or you're a big project, and you're able to shake out hundreds of vulnerabilities in a week, well, you just made that project that much more resilient to attack. So I'm super excited about that technology.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great note to end on, resiliency. We've all sort of learned that cybersecurity risk management folds up into a larger resiliency strategy in most cases, and I think that's where we're going. We've just got to go there really fast and stay fast, right? Like we've got this concept of data-driven decision making. We see the light now with AI that we can handle the volumes of data that's going to be coming at us. Might not work perfectly right now, but things are changing so fast. So that's sort of where I see things going. A lot more collaboration and automation, automatic collaboration. not just within stakeholders in the industry, if you will, but also within institutions as well. There are different risk teams that need to collaborate more closely. We've got fraud and cyber and compliance and investigations and financial intelligence. We've got these different risk teams. I really see this sort of convergence both within institutions as well as within the larger ecosystem, and a lot of automation along with that, and that will definitely be enabled via AI, and we're on that journey.
I think so as well. And I think it's the last part I'll just add on the AA front. I agree with the whole thing. I think it's making things faster and smarter and more targeted. It's the last concern I have, and for those that have just been paying attention in the last week or so, I think Anthropic was having some issues, for example. And the volume of work stoppage, I think, across the world on those given couple of days I think is concerning, not just from a security and risk point of view, but just from an operational standpoint. So I guess the last thing I would say is, like, make sure we spread our eggs around in a little basket a little bit, or we reinvent how we keep work cycles going.
Yeah, it's similar to like when AWS, like US East or something, goes down. Like Netflix stops working and everything goes out, and
100%.
Centralized risk, yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, everyone gets enough when Facebook and Meta and all go down. So with that being said, thank you all for coming here. We really greatly appreciate it. And obviously experts in their field, so please take to heart some of what's been shown. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.